Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Ulfi Silmi from Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. On this greatest day, I would like to explain to you about my research, which is me and Professor Wahidin as the author of this research. The title of this research would be Analysis of Student Critical Thinking Abilities in Solving Mathematical Problems on Rectangular Material. This research was conducted based on the students' critical thinking skill problem, with the following problem were: first, student critical thinking abilities in solving mathematical problem in elementary school are still relatively low. Second, student abilities in the aspect of identifying, understanding a concept, and analyzing or evaluating mathematical problem solving are still lacking. Third, in rectangular material in elementary school, students experience difficulties in using concepts, using principles, and have difficulty solving story problems. The aim of this research is to describe the critical thinking abilities of elementary school students in rectangular material and find out the indicators of critical thinking abilities that students master best. Based on the problems, exploring and analyzing the critical thinking skill of the student was mattered to know to find out the best method applied to increase of the student critical thinking skills. The method used in this research is a descriptive qualitative method. The data collection techniques used in this research were tests and interviews. Testing the validity on the data in this research used triangulation techniques. The data analysis technique used in this research are 1. Data reduction, 2. Data presentation, and 3. Drawing conclusion. The result of this research were obtained through a mathematical learning process with problem-based learning model that had been carried out. The data on the result of the critical thinking ability test was taken by providing questions describing problem solving on rectangular material. The critical thinking ability test includes 6 indicators of critical thinking ability, namely interpretation, analysis, inference, evaluation, explanation, and self-regulation. Subject 1 have met all indicators of critical thinking abilities. The interpretation indicator is fulfilled, which is marked by writing the information from this question clearly and precisely. Then, the analysis indicator is shown to write down the relationship between the concepts used in solving the problem correctly. In the inference indicator, it can be seen that subject 1 can conclude from what is asked logically. In the evaluation indicator, have written down the problem solving based on the strategy used. In the explanation indicator, subject 1 has provided reasons for the conclusion drawn in solving the question. In the self-regulation indicator, subject 1 can recheck the answer that have been given. Based on the test result, it was also confirmed by the interview result, namely that all indicators of the questions asked were fulfilled. Students were able to answer them. Subject 2 have fulfilled 5 indicators of critical thinking ability, namely interpretation, analysis, inference, evaluation, and explanation. However, on the self-regulation indicators, subject 2 was not able to recheck the answers that had been given. Based on the test result, it was also strengthened by the result of the interview, namely by fulfilling the 5 indicators of the question asked. Students were able to answer them. In the self-regulation indicator, students are not yet sure about the answer they have written. Subject 3 only met 2 indicators of critical thinking ability. The interpretation indicator is fulfilled, which is marked by writing the information from the question clearly and precisely. Then, the analysis indicator is shown to write down the relationship between the concept used in solving the problem correctly. Based on the test result, it was also strengthened by the result of the interview, namely by fulfilling 2 indicators of the question asked. Students were able to answer. Discussion. Subject 1. The subject has fulfilled all indicators of critical thinking. Interpretation indicators are achieved with the criteria of being able to write information from the question clearly and precisely. Analysis indicator is achieved with the criteria of being able to write down the concept used in solving problems clearly. Inference indicator are achieved by being able to conclude from what is asked logically. Evaluation indicator are achieved by being able to write down problem solution clearly and precisely. This appears in the test result of the subject calculating the possibilities that arise correctly. The explanation indicator is achieved by being able to provide reason for the conclusion down clearly and precisely. The self-regulation indicator is achieved by being able to look back at the answer given clearly and precisely. Subject 2. The subject have met 5 indicators of critical thinking in solving mathematical problems. However, the self-regulation indicator has not been achieved because students have not been able to review the answer given clearly and precisely. In this case, students have not been able to review the work process in solving the question presented. Subject 3. The subject only met 2 indicators of critical thinking. Interpretation indicators are achieved with the criteria of being able to write information from the question clearly and precisely. Analysis indicator is achieved with the criteria of being able to write down the concept used in solving problems clearly. The indicator of inference, evaluation, explanation, and self-regulation are still not visible. Subject 3 have not been able to predict and find other alternatives in solving problems. The subject 3 was declared unable to write down the final result by providing reason for the conclusion drawn. So the subject 3 didn't meet the indicators of critical thinking ability in the explanation aspect. Subject 3 also have not been able to re-examine the work process in solving the question presented. Next, conclusion. Based on the result of the analysis of critical thinking skill toward problem solving, the following results were obtained. Students with high problem-solving abilities fulfill all indicators of critical thinking abilities. Students with moderate problem-solving abilities fulfill 5 indicators of critical thinking abilities, including interpretation, analysis, inference, evaluation, and explanation. Students with low problem-solving abilities fulfill 2 indicators of critical thinking abilities, including interpretation, and analysis. Thank you so much. That's all from me. I would like to apologize for any mistakes or improper words. Thank you for paying attention to my presentation. And I hope what I presented could be give any insight for us. I hope you have a good day. See you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.